Render is one of the hottest AI altcoins on the market, and with good reason, as it has been one of the best performing alts out of the top 100 since the beginning of this bull market. Now, something is cooking over at the Render network as we've seen a massive uptick in the amount of burns for this altcoin. And in today's episode of the Everything Crypto Show, we're going to break down the regular crypto and altcoin market update, as well as discuss why I believe the Render burns have ramped up and what it could mean for the price action of this altcoin. Now, before we hop into today's content, just a friendly reminder that I am not a financial advisor, nor do I offer any sort of financial advice on YouTube. I am simply here for your crypto news and entertainment purposes. And if you do find the videos informative, entertaining, maybe even both, please consider hitting that sub and like button and turn that notification bell on so you can be notified when all of our latest videos go live on the channel. Now, without further ado, we're going to get right into today's crypto and altcoin market update, and then we are going to hop into the news specifically pertaining to the Render token, which, as mentioned at the beginning of the video, has seen a massive uptick in the amount of burns. And I want to kind of just break down why I believe this could be the case and what this could mean for the price action of the Render token itself. So we can see here that on the week after a pretty rough week last week, we can see that most of these altcoins are back in the green. It's a little bit of a mixed bag, but some of the standout outperformers would be Helium up 48%, Sui up 58%. I believe this is Zcash up 29.9%. 1000 Sats is up 34.3%. We have Tia as well. This is a new altcoin for this cycle. Actually up about 15.5%, sitting at 580 after actually peaking at about $20 earlier this year, I believe. Yeah, so that was in February. It hit about $20. So, overall, a pretty mixed bag. If we take a look at the year, most of these altcoins are in the green. So if you have been in this market over the past year, if you have been, paying attention to some of these altcoins, Pepe, Sol, Bonk, Jasmine, Toncoin, Tau, Floki, FET, Stacks, there are definitely some very solid performers here over the past year's time period. Now, taking a look at the charts as well, I do want to take a look at Bitcoin, the altcoin market, Bitcoin dominance, and then we're going to get into today's news. And we can see here that Bitcoin is basically just sitting at that 59.5K level, right below that 60,000 area that everybody is paying attention to. And if we actually measure it from its all-time highs that it put in back in March of this year, I mean, it's still down about 18% from its all-time highs. In my opinion, very normal bull market correction. And, this is something that if you've been in crypto for a while, you've most likely experienced in the past. If you were around for the last cycle, you definitely experienced this. 20%, 30% declines for Bitcoin are really, normal in bull markets. And that means that if Bitcoin is going to decline 20-ish%, that altcoins are probably going to be declining anywhere from 30, 40, 50, maybe even 60% sometimes from recent highs. So if we actually take a look at the altcoin market here, and this is total 3, which is basically the total crypto market cap minus Bitcoin and Ether. You can see that it is in a 28% decline from the highs that it put in March compared to Bitcoin's 20%. So, Bitcoin moves down 20%, altcoins move down 30%. Pretty typical stuff for a bull market, which by all means, I do still believe that we are in. Now, Bitcoin dominance as well, actually recently clocking a new cycle high. And this really has been the story of this bull market, is that Bitcoin dominance continues to rise, effectively meaning that Bitcoin has been a better performer than the majority of the altcoin market. In fact, Bitcoin dominance has risen about 42% from the beginning of the bull run. And I've been saying it pretty frequently. I don't think this bull run is going to be like the last where you can, basically just drop money into a bucket and any altcoin is going to go up. I think that this bull market, you have to be a lot more selective with the altcoins that you are actually buying and expecting to outperform Bitcoin. A few of them that, have been actually doing well versus Bitcoin include Solana and Render. But yeah, you definitely do need to be, I think everyone, needs to be more selective with their alts this cycle. I don't think it's going to be as easy to make money on altcoins as it was in the last one. Memes have also been a big standout trade for this cycle. But generally speaking, this chart just indicates that, yeah, Bitcoin has been outperforming the broader altcoin market for this bull run. When it comes to the altcoin market specifically, and same thing with Bitcoin, they're both similar in the sense where they are below their bull market support bands at the moment. So looking for the altcoin market to actually reclaim its bull market support band at about 630 billion and total market cap. And then same with Bitcoin, looking for it to reclaim that plus 60K level. And that would represent a move of about another 10% for the altcoin market for it to actually get back up to this area. Now, I do want to get into the specific altcoin for this video, and that is going to be the Render token. And if you've been with the channel for a while, you know that we have been covering Render on the channel since last year, and with good reason. I mean, Render has been one of the best performers out of the top 100 altcoins. In fact, if we actually take a look at its performance from the beginning of 2023, which is where I kind of, measure the start of the bull run, I mean, the coin's up like okay, right here it's showing 1,300, but I believe if we line it up, yeah, I mean, the token's up like give or take 1,100% from its bear market lows, and that is even after seeing about a 65% decline from recent highs at $13.50. Render is also one of the altcoins that has actually outperformed Bitcoin from the beginning of this bull market. This is the Render versus Bitcoin chart. And yeah, once again, even after pulling back, you can see that this altcoin has been in a uptrend versus Bitcoin since the beginning of 2023. So definitely just something to keep in mind when it comes to Render. That's why I have been covering it more frequently on the channel. As I said, I do think it's important to be more selective with your alts, and I do think that Render will continue to be a winner of this bull market as it has been so far. So what we've seen with the Render network here actually is a massive uptick in burns for this altcoin from 76,000 on July 30th and now up to 97,000, presently in early to mid-August. And I do kind of want to discuss why, but for starters, if you are not so familiar with what the Render network is, it is essentially a decentralized GPU rendering platform. So it allows people to offer up their idle GPU compute through their blockchain marketplace, and then anybody is able to tap into this decentralized GPU power and use it for a wide array of computation tasks, which started off with, content creation and basic rendering, and they did pivot into artificial intelligence. So the Render network's decentralized GPU fleet can be used for large language models and other AI use cases. And that's pretty much the big reason I've been so bullish on this project. I mean, the thing is, like, AI is, all the hype right now. People are really looking to capitalize on artificial intelligence, and the demand is basically in that exponential growth phase. The supply is the bottleneck. The supply of GPU power available. And that's a big issue that the Render network is looking to solve. Now, recently, what they actually did was they upgraded from the Ethereum blockchain over to the Solana blockchain. This happened in late July, where most exchanges actually went on board to basically help them phase out the Ethereum token and phase in the Solana version. And what the Solana, basically what moving from Ethereum to Solana allows them to do is also introduce the burn mint equilibrium. And there are a couple of key aspects here in terms of the burn mint equilibrium. But the big one here is that token burns and emissions take place. So upon completion of work, creators pay for jobs by converting fiat to Render using distributed liquidity pools. The Render is then subsequently burned in exchange for completion of the work. So creators pay for jobs by converting money to Render. The Render is burned in exchange for completion of the work, and then a transparent log of these transactions is maintained by the protocol, and this forms the basis for rewards for contributors at each epoch's end. Okay, so Render is burned, and then out of the emissions for this altcoin, it is actually allocated to people, to contributors for the work that they have done. Emissions are also allocated on an epoch by epoch basis, typically spanning a week period based on network usage. Okay, so it's important to note that while there is render being burned, there is also still render actually being emitted as well. And all of that you can actually see right here on the Render Network dashboard. I don't know why it's having a little bit of a difficult time actually loading up right now. Let me see if I can boot it up for you guys again. Yeah, okay, it's not, I don't know, it's not loading up, but yeah, there you can see here the emission schedule, okay, so here we are now in month 16, there's about 77 million render that is coming, so actually, here it is, right here, okay, so emissions versus burns, 3.8 million render emitted versus 97,000 burns, so definitely still a lot more emissions than burns that we are seeing at the moment. However, a huge ramp up in burns is always appreciated, okay, especially if we take a look at some altcoins who, basically conducted regular burns in the last cycle. I think the biggest and most common example is BNB token. And this was a huge winner of the last bull run. They did actually, and they still do have their burn program going on. And you can see how the price actually reacted when the market recognized that this altcoin was going to be getting regular burns. And yeah, I mean, if we take a look here, right, like in late 2020, this coin was at $30, and by mid 2021, this coin was at the mid $600 range. So, about a 25x, and I believe it did actually wick even higher than that. This is just the price on CoinMarketCap. So I do believe that now that we've actually seen the conversion of render from Ethereum to Solana, basically, the burn mint equilibrium only works, it only takes place on the Solana blockchain. And now that now that most people are transacting with the upgraded version of render on the Solana chain, this means that more render is basically going to be put into the burn mint equilibrium, hypothetically anyways, right? Because this was not possible, or it wasn't happening on Ethereum. The BME only happens on Solana, and they did just undergo that massive upgrade to the Solana blockchain. And I did, kind of say in that video when this was all happening that we could potentially see a massive uptick in burns with increased adoption of this token on the Solana chain. And we have actually seen that massive uptick in burns here. So definitely thinking that that could be one of the reasons why this actually did take place. So definitely something to keep an eye on if they can actually keep this consistent, if they can ramp this up almost close to that 100,000 render burn milestone. Obviously not a lot relative to the supply and the emissions, but always nice to see, and I do hope that we can see an acceleration of burns for this altcoin. Now, to wrap things up, I do want to take a look at the chart as well. And you can see here that on that massive, that big, pullback that we did actually see early last week, render bounced perfectly off of the $3.58 level, which I did have pegged as an area of support on the chart here. In fact, if we take a look, you can see that this acted as a big area of resistance before we saw that mass capitulation back in 2022, acted as a big area of support here in 2023 before render actually ran all the way up to that $13.50 mark. And yeah, once again, just acting as support here. Now we have seen that bounce off of the $3.58 level. Render has rallied about 33% from that level. And the next thing I'm looking for really is just to see if it can go ahead and reclaim that $5.20 level, which was resistance back here in late 2023, early 2024, before render broke above and then basically, went up like 150% in a month from $5.20 up to about $13.50 from February to March of this year. So looking for a reclaim of 520. If that is the case, the next thing I would be looking for actually is to see if render can make its way back up to 880, which is the prior cycle all-time high, as you can see back here in 2021. So if Bitcoin does want to move down and drag the altcoin market down with it, I would potentially be looking for a retest of that $3.60 zone. And if the altcoin market moves up here, if Bitcoin moves up and altcoins also move, I'd be looking for a reclaim of that $5.20 zone, and above that $8.80 for this altcoin. And on that note, I hope you did enjoy the content in today's video. I hope you are all staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out for now.